Dear Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you for being here this evening. And we just ask that you guide us all the way that you know how. And be with us in our decisions this evening. And thank you for the rain. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yes, ma'am. Is there any additions to the agenda?
No executive session personnel to include non-elected, I guess non-elected personnel also.
Where do you want that?
Police department.
Police department. How long did you say?
10 minutes, 10 minutes is enough.
And you notice we're moving new business up, I think, consent agenda.
Yeah.
We're going to move all the new business up to consent agenda.
Okay, I have,
Nothing to talk about.
two things I'd like to add.
Okay.
One of them is to allow any of our citizens comments, questions after Ms. Julianne Owens speaks. And the second is to allow Julianne Owens to provide some additional, never mind. You already, okay, thank you. Yeah, just, we can just allow some questions and comments to the after.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then, why don't we allow questions and comments after all three have spoken? Julianne, Ransom, and Dawn. And that way we can open it up for questions.
That's fine.
Okay, is there any more additions?
We have already on your agenda the purchase of a half load of 40-foot power poles.
And I'd like to remove my administration in the executive session for non-elected personnel. I'd like to remove that.
I'll move to approve the changes to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Let's stay down. Thank you. Okay, consent agenda, Joanna.
To approve the minutes of the regular meeting of March 20th, 2012. Approve appropriation ordinance 0403, 2012, in the amount of $66,307.12.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Is that Troy? Thank you. Okay, new business, Christy Snyder, would you come forward, please? I can see you come in. Sorry.
Well, the library board asked me to maybe come and present what's going on with the library, maybe quarterly, to the city since we're in this together, and let you know what's going on. So I've provided a highlight of what's happened so far this year, and I could maybe highlight real quick some things. We're really proud of the fact that we're an America's Star Library, 5-star library. We've gotten that 4 years in a row. And that's based on program attendance, internet usage, circulation, and visits to our library. We've highlighted here some of the things that have happened throughout the year, both school-wise and basically elementary. The young adult program has kind of gone by the wayside with cuts in staff and the hours that we've had to cut. But we do like to offer a variety of things to the public as well. And coming up is National Library Week next week, and on Saturday we're going to offer breakfast with an author It's 10 o'clock in the morning at the community room. It's Amy Bickle and Jason Probst, who work for the Hutch News, and she did the series of Dead Counts, which they put together in a book, and then together they wrote the Kansas Guide to Fishing, or Guide to Kansas Fishing, I guess. So they're going to be there, and we'll have some weekend treats and have some fun. Also, on Thursday next week, we're going to have hopefully a community read-in. If you'll all bring a book and come down to the square at 2:30, we'll meet the elementary kids and whatever high school, junior high kids are left at school, and have a drop everything and read for half an hour. So make sure you have your books with you on Thursday. And the other thing I thought I'd like to do is maybe just give a quick summary of our interlocal agreement. The library agreement was established in 1970, and originally it gave the interlocal board, which is 2 city members, 2 school board members, and the librarian, gave them the organization, management, operation job of running the library. In 1981, and I don't know the history behind this, it was shifted from that group to the school. And so the interlocal now is an advisory board. And I did list who our members, I don't think I listed our interlocal. We've got Bill Milton and Tom Garner from the school board, and Dorothy Stites and I think Tom Turner from this library. But anyway, that shifted, so they're totally advisory. And the city's place in this agreement was that they would share in the expense of library operation, and that includes the annual maximum levy authorized by statute. Last year that was 2.964. And a total income of about $16,525. The way the finances work is the school district pays the staff salaries and the maintenance of the building, and there were trust funds set up to help purchase materials, and then your money, the city money, helps pay or defray the cost of the utilities. We asked for an increase, I think, from 12,000 to 16,000, 18,000? 18,000, because we were in jeopardy of losing an evening clerk, and that helped us with that as well.
And because of delinquent taxes, you don't get quite.
Yeah, we don't always get the full amount, but every little bit helps. We just turned in our state library report. The library has 31,868 items. About 30,000 of that are books. We have a total circulation of 20,466. That's with 1,700 card holders. We just had a survey where it was suggested we work on getting some e-books and some e-readers for the public to check out, and we're working on that. And I think that's probably kind of just the tip of the iceberg, but I wanted to let you know that we're out there and we're working. And we'd like to keep in contact with you and have some advocates for the library here in town. And I did have a question for you. The summer reading program is called Dream Big, and we've teamed up with the CIP team to have the Cosmosphere come out, and that's going to be on June 26th in the evening. And they're going to give a short Astronomy 101 and then take us out and view the stars and constellations. They're bringing their telescopes and whatever else. I don't know. And our first thought was we'd like to have it on the square. And we thought, well, it didn't hurt to ask. Do you ever turn the lights off around the square? Is that a possibility? You think we can? That would be awesome. We're gonna try to have a ice cream social or weenie roast and have our class, and it would be great to do it all around the square. So, okay, great.
Is that open to the public?
Yes, ma'am. It's gonna be community wide also. So, yeah, we'll get you more information about that. Free. That's right. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Christine. Anybody have any questions for Christine? Julianne, would you like to come forward, please?
Okay. Back in March, I attended the first council meeting of the month and was asking questions about the nitrate removal plan. One of the things that I was looking for was the cost analysis. Basically, because I have concerns, I volunteered to complete running some numbers to see what I came up with. What you all have in your hands is the result of that. What I did was I took the second page of this, I took the numbers that Ransom and Associates had plugged into their spreadsheet. And for 2008, 2009, and 2010, I'm assuming, I believe that information was provided to them by the city. I'm not familiar with the software that they use or anything like that, but that's where my numbers generated from. That's where I started. And then I went through and looked at what our total revenues were from that report, what the total expenses were, and then a profit and loss for each of those years, and then a cumulative as to where we would be at the end of 2010. And what my number shows is that we had about $30,000 in reserve. Now, when I say in reserve, I'm strictly looking at water usage numbers. I know the city has more money than this in reserve, but I'm just looking at it strictly from the numbers that I have. I want to make sure that I make that clear. So then, what I did was, on the first page, I did some projections. And I contacted the city office and asked for the current number of accounts in the city. And was given a number of 632. That is a 7% drop from the numbers in 2010. So basically what I did was I took that 7% and applied it to 2013 and then again to 2014 and did the same thing with the gallons that were sold. And the revenues are calculated on the new rates. So basically what's in that formula is you have 632 meters times $17.45 a month times 12 months in the year. The next piece of that is not the 24,000, but still a part of the 274, is the difference between the 46,451,000 gallons and the 20,471 that are used in the minimum. Divided that by 1,000 because our rate is based on 548 for every 1,000 gallons used, and multiplied that by the difference between the two. And basically, what we're estimating the revenues based on the new rates is $274,000 for the year. There's also some additional revenues that are taken in for the money, for the water department. Didn't have time to dig into what all of those were. Originally, I was looking at the gallons used, but that's an estimate of what those numbers have been in the past. That gives us total annual revenues of $298,000, almost $299,000. Using again the numbers in the rate checkup as a starting point, I inflated those numbers by 4% for each year, which gave us $83,775 for 2012, and then I calculated that forward. And then in 2014, I put in what is the anticipated loan payment based on the amortization schedule, and the number under that is the reserves, again, the money that's left after you take what's coming in revenue and what's going out in expenses. And then the number under that, the total available reserves using these numbers, you'll see it goes from the 214 to 416 to 457 at the end of 2014. If you add the about $30,000 that's left at the end of 2010 into those numbers, that's what that bottom row is. This is basically what I was looking for when I was asking for a cost analysis. Something that showed how much revenue the new rates would bring in, what we were looking at in expenses, and what we were going to be looking at as far as leftover monies once we started making those loan payments. You'll notice it's a huge drop. And if our accounts continue to decline and expenses continue to rise, it will probably be a year or two before we're looking at another rate increase. Now, that's not definite, but that's just what the numbers are projecting. Page 3 of the handout is basically just numbers. The maximum number of gallons from the base monthly, which is 3,000 gallons, is what we base the $17.45 a month. You can use up to 3,000 gallons before you're charged any more. If you take that 3,000 gallons times 632 accounts times 12 months, you come up with 22 million gallons, almost 23. The next couple of lines show you the revenue that is generated on a monthly and an annual basis from the base rate of $17.45. The next line after that is the loan payment based on what was in the amortization schedule. And then you have the difference between what the loan payment is and what we're bringing in annually from the base, which is $16,454.40. Basically, that's what we're short every year based on the current base rate. Now, that's strictly the base rate. That doesn't take into account the additional gallons that are used. If you look at that $16.45 or $16,000, you would have to add another $2.17 to each account per month to make up that difference. Now, that's assuming you don't have any additional sales. Our annual estimated operating expenses equate to about $11.05 per month per account. If you had no other usage other than that 3,000 gallons, we'd be looking at $30.67 a month to cover operating expenses and the loan payment. Now, it's not realistic to believe that people are only going to use 3,000 gallons of water a month, but this is just worst case scenario. Again, underneath that is just some more numbers, and basically it gets to how I came up with $548 per 1,000 gallons additional revenue from usage, potentially $130,000 a year. The back page is a copy of the page out of the rate study that I used to calculate the numbers. The other document that some of you probably picked up is a sample of a request for qualifications that Great Bend put out to deal with their bacteria clogging in their lake. In my opinion, this is where we should have started, is something similar to this. This basically is going out and requesting for people to provide their qualifications and then provide a list of potential sources or methods to deal with the problem. And in my opinion, this is where our community should have started. The council has this sheet in front of them, the community doesn't. Basically, I did some calculations. If we had not been in a position of having to do the nitrate removal plant, and because one of the questions that I was asked when I turned this information in was, what did I think the rate should be? To which my response was, is I really didn't have enough information to be able to give them that number. But basically what I did was I just went through and did some calculations if the base rate had gone to $7.50 and to $8, and laid those numbers out for them to see. So, and that's what I came up with.
Why do you not have enough information?
Because I didn't have time to gather all of the information that I would have needed to be able to calculate it. I was gone over spring break, which is why I asked the EDB that I be able to come back here. And so I just, in between full-time job and other responsibilities, I just haven't had the time to completely do all of the analysis.
Thank you. That's one of the complaints. This is Beth Warren, am I saying that right?
Yes.
From Ransom and Sons. This is
Yes.
I'm just going to go over some of the base assumptions that I used when doing the review. Basically, what we looked at when doing the review is we looked at the historical information that was provided for 8, 9, and 10. We looked at trends up and down in expenses. We looked at number of customers historically. We left number of customers flat at the current level they were at 2010, which was the 679 customers. We looked at, there's two main figures we look at when we were forecasting expenses, and what we did is we went line item by line item for every expense that was in the audit. And we looked at the actual expense that you had in 2010, and we looked at the average for the 3-year period. What we do in setting expenses is we pick the higher amount between those two, again, to do worst case scenario based on expenses. And we use, instead of using a 4% inflation rate, we use the going rate of the 3% inflation rate. It's kind of the standard and what we use in most of our reviews, unless based on discussions, we bump it up for any particular reason. Some other assumptions that we did, we bumped up your capital outlay budget to $15,000. We increased that to give you a little bit of wiggle room there. We built in additional funds for meter replacement. We also increased expenses in your salaries that give you a little wiggle room to come up with the total expenses that we forecasted. Now, in the review that you have of the complete review, if you look on page 12, you'll see once we've plugged the information into the program we use, we make a few adjustments to it, and your total revenue requirement without debt service came up to be about $120,604 is what we used as your revenue requirement. Now, based on that scenario, when we increased rates, we left your current structure the same. We didn't look at changing it at all. We just did the flat percentage increase across the board, which is where we came up with the increase of 43%. Now, when you add in debt service to that, we came up with the end result of the total percentage increase, which I believe is what you implemented, of the 249%. Now, in those total expenses, we also add in a 5% margin that again gives you a little bit of extra wiggle room for other expenses that may need to be done, either to build up your cash reserves, or if something else comes up, you'd be able to use it for that. We also, when forecasting debt service on the issue, we had the total project size at $3 million. Based on my discussions with Jonna, we assumed a small portion of loan forgiveness, since we know you're going to get some portion of that. The exact amount is unknown until all of your bids and everything come in. So we assume the total loan size would be $2.5 million. Now, at the time I ran the review, the rates on the revolving loan program were at 281. From what I understand, your final loan agreement, your interest rate came in at 242 or 241. So you're going to have some extra savings and extra wiggle room again in your interest cost savings from that. We also did two other scenarios we looked at where we capped the minimum at 1,000 gallons and did an increase based on that came up with the second scenario. And then the third scenario, we capped the minimum charge at $10 and did the full rest of the increase was all to the step charge. So those were there were three scenarios that all ended in the debt service on the project with the same assumptions that came up with the three different increases. Do you guys have any questions for me at this point?
Last time you were asked that we talked to Lane about if they would delay signing the contract until we got the plant going. And Lane and Don wrote a letter that you'll sign asking Lane to do that, and Lane has agreed with the understanding of the stipulations that were in their bid that if something happened, they could raise some of their prices, but that they were limited. So they have agreed on that. We are working on the project. We've got Mel a set of plans for the water line. They're probably 95% done. We have the plant laid out. We have, and Mel has a layout drawing of everything. We're moving along. I told you that I was going to try and have things ready to bid by the 1st of June. And I think I'm still hoping that we're on progress for that. So we're moving along. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. Citizens, do you have any questions for anybody that spoke this evening? Julianne, Beth, Dawn? Yes, Mary?
I have a question for Beth. You said that you studied 3 different scenarios, including one that set the base rate at $10.
Right.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit about what that scenario would be like?
Okay, basically, let me find it. Okay, when we capped the base rate at the $10, and that was also leaving the gallons included in the minimum at 1,000 gallons instead of the 3,000, you would end up with an increase on the step charge of 241%. So your Your monthly minimum would be $10 with 1,000 gallons included. Your step fee would be $5.46 per 1,000 gallons. So the average cost of 5,000 gallons under that scenario would be roughly $31.82.
And how does that compare with the current rate?
Your current rate, the one that was implemented, put rates, you've got a $17.45 minimum that allows 3,000 gallons included with it, and your step charge is $5.58. So your cost for 5,000 gallons under that scenario is $22.03.
And that's the current one?
That's your current one,
Okay.
correct?
Well, did you study any scenarios where you include incentive for water conservation so that you have a relatively low initial amount, but you really ramp it up for the step increases?
We could have, basically we left it kind of plain and simple. The city has a minimum charge and one step fee. To be able to do that, we would have to look at a number of different steps that would have to, start at maybe $2.50 per thousand for the first 5,000 gallons, or the next 5,000 gallons after what's allowed in the minimum, and then maybe go to 5 for the next step.
My concern about this is that there's no incentive under the plan that was adopted. There's no incentive for water conservation, for limiting water usage to drinking and bathing and household, and really hammering people that water their lawns while it's raining and let the water go down the gutter.
That's what we do, is we just look at your current rates. Our job is not to promote one rate structure over another.
Well, that would be the council's job.
So that's
have
based on
policy
the city's
promotion
discussion
like
and political decisions. That's not,
that.
I don't just go out and make
Yeah.
those scenarios. I have to be given information to go off of. So I think they just wanted to get rates to the point to where they knew that service was going to be covered, and they looked at a couple different scenarios to be able to give some options, and so far this is what we looked at. We're not limited to this, we can always go back and rerun numbers or anything, but currently this is based on the discussions I had at the time. These were the scenarios I ran and the outcome of the scenarios.
Have you had an opportunity to study her calculations?
I've looked at her numbers, yes, but
Do you agree that we will need to increase rates within a year?
I don't know about within a year. It's pretty typical just with inflation costs going up, gas is going up, you're gonna have big jumps there. It's pretty typical that some communities have started building in an automatic increase every year of 3 or 5% just to cover inflation. That they do that every year, just to kind of get used to it. So, to say there's not going to be an increase in 1 to 2 years, you never know. Costs of other things are going to go up. Maybe you have to hire a new person. I think we tried to take into account as many increases as we could, and we built in some extra wiggle room that maybe can allow you to put that off for a little bit longer, but the exact amount of time, I can't say.
And for those of you who weren't at the last meeting, I believe it was noted that there hadn't been an increase in the last years.
Since 1995.
See, I would say, I think that is the biggest problem you have right now, is that you waited, your previous councils did not do you any favor by not keeping up with the rates, which made it tougher for you to have such a huge jump. And I see a lot of counts doing what that just said, that every year on automatic rates, 3, 4, 5%. That's become real common.
Can I make a comment here?
Yes.
I don't think, I must be missing something here, because our rate went up significantly because we have a $3 million debt that we're looking at that we didn't have last year. or the year before that was factored into our rates. I don't think it had anything to do with our rates not being increased since 1995.
Yeah, we decided to go ahead and raise our rates. We made that decision to go ahead and raise our rates.
I do
Yes.
understand that, but I don't see the figures where we were in the hole. I mean, I don't understand where this is coming from, where, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Based on what we had ran on expenses that we forecast, the very first scenario we went over that didn't look at debt service on the new plans, and just budgeting expenses you wanted to be able to, you had about a 50% increase that was necessary still, without the additional debt service.
Okay, 50% isn't 250%. That's a big difference.
Well, so.
And I mean, I understand what you're saying, but the point that I think Trish was trying to get across is that without us looking at a $3 million nitrate removal facility, we wouldn't have been looking at a 250% rate increase. I think most of the community would have understood a 50% rate increase after almost 20 years. I wouldn't have had a problem with that, I can guarantee it. And I don't think I said we would be looking at a rate increase after a year, I said a year or two after 2014.
Any more questions?
Can I
Jamie?
just ask a question I've asked at every meeting I've gone to? Is the nitrate plant going in? Is it a solid, yes, we're doing it?
What was our answer?
Well, my first time in September was told no.
We had not decided then.
Okay, when did you decide?
We hadn't said yes or no, but at this point, we have accrued expenses that if we were to back out now, I don't believe you would want that either.
It's
Because-
less than 3 million.
Okay.
What I'm trying to get at,
So-
you have never given me a solid answer of yes, we're doing it, or no, we're not.
Because
But we
it's a
keep
process.
including expenses with a maybe, and I just don't understand that. I'm very simple-minded, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay. It's a process, and you have to have, we have engineer fees and other things that have gone into this that has to be done before you get to the bidding process. And so.
But here you go, the bidding process. When you go into that, in my mind, yes, it's a done deal. Yes, we're putting in the plan. Yes, aren't we?
You
Answer
can't
me.
put in a plant without bids. I can't build a house without bids. That's what we're looking
But
at.
you have decided you're going to build a house before you go get bids. My question is, why are we getting
If they come in
bids?
at,
Why are we doing all the expenses when we have not decided we're doing it? If you're going to do it, vote it and get it over with.
You have,
if my
we
house
need to
came
have
in,
the bids to know what the actual cost of this is.
I
I
realize
mean,
that.
that's what,
So in what you're saying is, yes, we're getting bids, and yes,
no,
we're
there's
going to
nothing
put
been
it
voted
in.
on that says it's a done deal.
go ahead,
Absolutely
Dawn.
not.
Go ahead, Dawn.
They have made the decision to proceed to get the bids. If the bids come in too high, they can always stop at that point in time and not build the plant.
But then we've incurred the same engineering costs that you're talking about, where you're saying that we don't want to do that.
But
So the implication is that it's a done deal.
You're putting the cart before the horse. I'm sorry.
Well, you can
It should have
assume
been a
that.
solid decision, yes, we're doing it, we need it, this is what we're doing, and then you go for it. You don't say, well, maybe, and we're into thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars as an expense, but we're still maybe in it.
I'm sorry, Sandy, that's just not how it's happened.
It's not how it's
You can try
happened
to
here.
pigeonhole it any way you want, but the fact of the matter is, we have been going through the process for about a year. And we have sat through meeting and meeting and meeting of educating ourselves and trying to learn. And yeah, we all have full-time jobs, just like Julianne. We're doing this on our
That isn't
spare
the
time.
issue. The issue is, put it up
That
to a
you don't
vote
have all
and
the
do it.
information. And you're trying to accuse us of that. And I feel like we have done our homework. And I this is a compliance issue with our community. We have to be compliant and provide healthy water for the people in our community.
I'm not arguing that point. I'm just saying I want a solid, honest answer.
We're not there yet.
But we're still accruing hundreds of thousands of dollars to get there.
You have voted to do the plant, it's just that you have the option, when you get to the bid opening,
See,
of
he's
not.
closer to telling the truth than you are.
Well, if I had a vote, I'd vote yes, right now. Y'all wanna know my truth? I would vote.
We know that,
yes,
you've been very, and your job is to run the meetings, so.
That's right.
Okay.
And so,
I just
I'm
want
being
the
honest with
truth.
you though. You asked, so I'm being honest. I don't know, the rest of the council.
Don Howard just said that you did vote to approve the plan.
The plant, yes.
It's just the piece that goes inside the building that has all the tanks, and he says that's the way you have to go
Water
first.
treatment plant. That's what she's asking about.
That's all I've
And
asked.
that's what Don just
Is it a
confirmed.
go deal? And you've told me over and over, no, it's not decided, no, we haven't done it. But yet we keep getting all these ready to go out for bids. That means we're getting ready to build the house, baby.
No, if it comes in way higher than what I can
They-
afford, Sandy, I'm not gonna build the
Yeah, they
house.
still have the option of not doing it.
If we don't do it, then where do we stand with the laws?
Has it been mandated? By when?
And that would be a question for Dawn.
Well, you're in violation of the EPA regulations on water quality. And at some point in time, and the government works slow, it's not that they're tomorrow, they're not going to come out and turn all your wells off. But at some point in time, they're going to start becoming more and more strict, and they will start fining you. And they will fine you enough to where you will be hurting so much by paying the fines that it would have been much cheaper to have done the treatment process.
So then, would it not behoove us to slow down a little bit and look at some other options? And I'm not talking about putting the thing in the house and all that. I'm talking about, is there any grant money out there? Can we sell bonds?
You're
Can
getting,
we slowly, and we're at 11 and 12 is what I understand. We're not at 20, the legal limit is 10, right? So we're not way out there, and we are notifying the people that would be affected. Is there not a way to slow down just a little bit? And
We are getting grant money from the government.
right, but is there any other grant money? Has anybody,
I see what you mean.
is there some other things that we could do just to slow down just a little bit? Since we're not going to get thrown in jail, we're not going to get fines right away, we don't have to go forward 150 miles an hour. I understand we have to do something. I understand you guys are trying to look out for the betterment of all of us, but can we slow down just a little bit and go back and look a little? I know we've already spent money for this guy. I know
Okay,
that.
can I say one thing?
Yes.
Okay, ever since I've been sitting in this seat, we've been having nitrate troubles, okay? So, council has dragged their feet, not done anything. Oh, we'll just shut the well down for a while, let it go away, hopefully it'll go away. And so, here we are.
Well, now that the people know, and some, not everybody still doesn't know, and that's, it's all of our jobs to be aware. I know that. Then, like I said before, there could have been some committees formed, there could have been some people, that could have given some other ideas. I think the cart was put before the horse a lot. And I don't blame you guys because you're not water treatment people. That's not what you're here for. You're here, you're helping us. I understand that. Go ahead, I know
Part of the reason we felt like we had to hurry was because of the KDHE loan. There were deadlines on that if we did not file for that by a certain date, then we would not be able to receive that money. And with the economy and the government, we weren't assured that we would get that in the year 2012. So some of that we did jump on just so we could be guaranteed that loan money.
Well, we were also told clear back when he did the analysis to begin with, or that it was $800 and some thousand, and it went, I mean, that's like going to look at a car, and then they tell me $20,000, and 6 months later, go back and tell me it's $60,000. The rate of increase is that much in a 6 month period, from $800,000 to $3 million?
I don't know who said
Yeah,
800,000.
I don't know.
What?
I did. That's what was the initial figure was put together and put us together right at this table, was $800-some thousand. Next thing it jumped to 1.7, and then it was 3.2.
Go ahead, John.
Madam Mayor, I think some of the confusion comes from the treatment plant numbers and the full project numbers. So maybe that could be clarified.
That's true too. The plant itself is the building, is that correct, Don?
Correct.
And then the treatment is all the pipe and the everything.
Infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. That goes throughout the town.
As a layman on this side and as a citizen, I think when somebody says the plant, they're meaning the whole enchilada. And I think you guys should understand that this is just frustration over here. Do you understand that?
Yeah, and that comes from both sides, I think. It really does, because, you know, like Lori said, you know, why did we form committees and stuff like that? Well, we had, I'm pretty sure it was announced to the public that we was going to make a trip to the plants that were already up, just west of us. Am I correct, Jonna?
Yeah, it was an
And
open
I
meeting,
see
so we had to
1,
notify.
2, 3. Oh yeah, I jumped in. Sorry, my bad. 3 people in the audience that went that day. Okay? It was very interesting. Very interesting. So, back to Lori's question, why did we form committees? We already know what it's like to form a committee. We all have our hands in committees already. And you're not getting any new people out there to help out with anything or to be a part of a new committee. So, like Amy said, we did move forward with because of the deadline with the loan and stuff like that. And yes, I know, I mean, there's frustrations on both sides. Do I want to spend this kind of money? Heck no, I don't. But do I want the health for the community? Yes, I do. Yes, Joe.
My question is, and I asked it the last time, has the council taken any action on it? Assuming that this, you continue with this and go through it and build it, have you looked at spending down any of the reserves, any portion of that $1,800,000 in unencumbered funds to make a balloon payment or two on this? I can see where you maybe don't have much choice, particularly reading this existing condition today. But I certainly would be very disappointed if you spent $2.5 million of taxpayer money with $1.8 million laying in the bank, drawing nothing.
Right.
So my question is, have you addressed this? Have you talked about it?
We as a council have not talked about it.
So, and why? A month ago, I asked that question.
I was not at the last meeting, and I think when we discuss things like that, we like to do it as a full council. This is the second meeting since then, and so that's kind of the way I see it. I know Jonna has looked into it some.
Okay, my next question, are you going to address it and seriously look at
Yes,
spending that?
yes.
Yeah.
If we have the money, yes, I would love to use it.
Define if we have the money.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
We have the money, yes, to make a good payment, yes. I would like to do that. To use all of it?
No, that would not be prudent.
Yes. Okay.
You could put $1 million on it and still have your $886,000 as a reserve, plus what you're getting off your $6 capital improvement fund that's going in reserve, plus what you're getting off your other thing on your payment, your $1745. I was always taught that when you had money and you had bills, you paid your bills.
Right.
you keep a little in reserve, but you pay your bills and get them down, because like Joe or whoever said, you take $1 million plus laying in the bank now, you're not getting 1%, and you're paying 3%, so it's really kind of stupid not to pay it off a big chunk of it when you're gonna have roughly $1 million forgiveness to start with. And then you could knock that down to $1 million, $1.5 million, depending on what your debts are.
Go ahead, Don.
One thing is that, and I agree with what you said 100%, I always try to pay my bills ahead, but this is not the time to do that. What the grant that they're getting is not a grant, it's called loan forgiveness. KDHE makes them the loan for the whole thing. Then they give them a loan forgiveness. At that point in time is when they want to make the payment on it. They don't want to do the payment
I think we're just wanting a commitment to be satisfied that the council agrees that that needs to be done.
Yeah, and that's up to the council. I'm just saying is,
Yeah,
they
we
don't have to
understand
make the
that, but
decision
we were
at
wanting
this point.
a commitment from the council.
Thanks, Don. Yes, Jim?
I'd like to ask Don a question.
Yes.
How many towns have they fined or shut down because of nitrates?
I don't believe they have shut down, or let's put it like this, I don't know of any that they have shut down. And I don't even know how many they have fined. I know they have talked about it. I don't know the answer to that.
Probably just talk.
Okay.
I don't know.
Don, Dattenberger, go ahead.
If you would go, I provided a copy of this to council last time I was absent. If you will go on MSNBC, there was a website, there was an article about 2 weeks ago about the Central Valley of California and the nitrate pollution problems they had there. And questions last time were what were the causes of it. It was a very detailed article on the effects of nitrates, what it causes, what it doesn't cause, what they were doing in the Central Valley, and what they were looking at. I think they're facing the same exact thing they're facing here. So if you go on that website and do a search for Central California nitrate pollution, I'm sure you'll be able to pull up that article. It's very important.
Forward anybody the link that Trish found. It's a UC data study that was put out in 2011 that goes through both the Salina Valley and the Central Tulare Lake Basin. And if anybody wants that information, I'll be happy to forward that link to them.
Yeah, it's quite lengthy.
But you can narrow it down because about half of it is not going to apply to you. But one thing that's good about the UC Davis report is that it does give you all of the options available to address the nitrate problems, gives you the pros and the cons, and there are cons to every system that we look at. But it's really simplified where it's understandable. It's really a one-page deal on the different methods available. Bottom line, we have to do something. We know we're going to do something. This is a good report.
Is that on the internet?
Yeah, it's the UC Davis.
The fact that we're not being fined or that nobody's being taken to jail doesn't mean that we're not paying a penalty for this. As the word gets around that our drinking water does not meet standards, the city is going to be penalized by people who don't want to come here, particularly if they're starting new families, if they have young children. And just personally, there was a time, before we started getting these notices, that I would have recommended St. John for people who, like me, want to retire near a great recreational spot. I will not do that now. I will not recommend that anybody move to this town as long as our drinking water does not meet minimum standards. And I don't think I'm the only one.
The
It
town
does come down
hasn't
to
grown
being
for
a
the last 40
sustainability
years.
issue for our community. And so, I think that's a very important point.
Say again, something.
I said, your town hasn't grown for the last 40 years.
Well, how sad is that?
Well, it didn't have to do with water. We used to be 9,000 population, and now we're like 4,800.
It's county.
That's the county. We've lost over half the population in the county. And the towns of both Stafford and St. John both have dropped. We used to be 2,000, 2,100.
And the population doubles every 20 years.
And
So
Stafford County is
it's,
one of the
it's
worst counties
not
in the
had
state.
anything to do with drinking water. We haven't grown anyhow.
Well,
So
no, I
now,
don't think the
whether you had
past has to do
perfect,
with
whether you
drinking
had
water.
perfect drinking water or not, how many people are you gonna get to move to St. John? What is there here? There's no jobs, there's nothing here.
So you're saying we should just give up?
No, but I'm saying, you can't say that we're gonna spend this $3 million and have perfectly drinkable water, and we're gonna have 10,000 people come in the
Oh, I
next
never
20
said
years.
that. Well, yeah.
Something I wanted to add. Well, we got a report, I think in our last bill or the bill before, that showed the different levels of our nitrates throughout the year. And it was from 6.9 to 11, I believe. How often are we above? Just for my own sake, are we high all the time? Does it go up
Usually
and
it's
down?
usually about half of the year we're in violation.
In
Just
violation.
coming up, this last quarter that we tested, it came up, we were right at 10 on the west well. So if it had been 1 point over that, we would have had to send out the notices again. So before that, it was down, during the winter months, like 8 and 9, and it's starting to come up, and it probably our next test we send in quarterly, we may have 2
And you
more
have to
wells.
test each well individually, is that it?
Yes.
It's not a blend, because when he was talking about I did listen to these things. When he's talking about the plant, that you were going to blend the water, you're going to get a good well, and put it in with some, I just wondered, yes, we need good water, but it is,
So does the nitrate level go up during irrigation season?
Most generally during the summertime is when we see the increase. And we have two wells that were on increased monitoring. The north well, we're on a quarterly, or yearly, but the 2 that we had trouble with, we do a quarterly report on them. So that's what the state requires.
thank you. You can read that, so.
Eric, would you like to speak?
Oh, he
Okay.
done a good job.
What did the nitrate level used to be? Was it at 20 and then the state changed it to 10?
Yes, and now there is legislation trying to get it taken back up to 20 currently right now.
The approved level.
Yes. Used to be 20, now it's 10, and there's legislation trying to get it pushed back to 20.
And there's also people talking about lowering it to 5.
Sure.
Get their direction with it. It's going like interest rates, isn't it? Good job.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Sybil. Is there any more questions?
I have a couple. And they're more comments than questions. In the future, I would like to see the council do a competitive bidding process for services. They're referred to as either a request for qualifications or a request for proposals before we award a $234,000 engineering contract. Unless I'm mistaken, it's my understanding that the contract for the engineering services on this project weren't competitively put out.
I believe we selected Don because he had done most of the water treatment facilities in the state.
I understand that, but
We didn't go with our regular engineer for that.
okay, but that's not competitively bid.
No, you're right, it's not, but he had the most experience. And I think that's what we were going off of.
And then the other question I have is, Beth did a wonderful job of explaining the rate study tonight. Why, when I asked for a cost analysis, didn't you guys just have her come and do the same thing? That's all I wanted. Was just an explanation.
When did you ask for it?
I asked in September. I asked again a month ago when I volunteered to do it. I had the mayor ask me, what do you mean by a cost analysis?
But you asked at last month's meeting,
I
and you
asked
wanted
in
us to.
September too.
She got up in front of everybody in September when we had our very first meeting with Dawn and explained everything in this room.
Oh, I see, okay, I see what you're saying.
And
I don't.
she'd asked for that information, and we were supposed to have another meeting, but it kept getting pushed back for whatever reason. I mean, the holidays, after January, things got busy. But really,
I
we should have
apologize,
had,
I guess we should have called the night we had the big meeting, we should have had Ransom there.
Well, we were also told that we would have another meeting before you moved forward
Right.
back in September, and we didn't, because of whatever reasons.
We
And
were
so it
told
was,
at our September meeting, the only reason we were there was for you guys to go ahead and apply for the loan to be used if we were going forward.
Yeah, we really didn't have any information though, I mean, because I'm talking to Dawn and
Because we
Mel.
had to get the loan paper signed right then and there, we had to get it applied for. That's understandable.
Yeah, but-
There was just a lot of misinformation, or maybe not the whole thing, explained to the group that was here. That's all I'm trying to express.
I'm sorry, but we felt like that we just did not have enough information to let the public know.
And I don't think we were
It was
trying to
just-
hold back any information. I certainly wasn't. Okay.
I hope, I just wasn't hiding anything, I don't have anything to hide. Yes, Joe?
Don't you think most of the people's objection is because of the cost? And a lot of our citizens are on a fixed income, and this big rate increase is going to hurt them. Julianne made her projections on knowing what the payback was going to have to be, what the loan amortization schedule was. But have you ever thought about having Julianne do projections for the citizens, considering that the council paid $1 million down after that 30% forgiveness? Then she wouldn't be doing a projection on $2.5 million loan payment, she'd be doing it on $1.5 million loan payment. And that could make a big difference in what the rate increases would have to be.
Makes sense.
cut your interest back quick.
Assuming Julianne's willing to
Well,
devote that much time to that.
Yeah. Ransom would be glad to do that as well.
Okay. I don't care who does it, that's your decision, but it would be nice to know that.
I mean,
I
we
just
can always
don't think-
go back and update anything. I mean, we went off of assumptions that we had at the time to be able to set rates so you knew you could make at least the debt service payments depending on when they started, because we didn't know how fast it was moving forward. With the KDHE loan, it's a pretty set process, and to be able to take advantage of the extremely low interest rates on the loan program, I mean, you just have to be able to get everything in on time. So it's most projects that applications go in for, it's a pretty rushed deal. And then adjustments are always made later to either the final loan amount or anything like that, and go back and update anything on it.
Thanks, Joe Carroll.
are we in jeopardy of losing the forgiveness? Do we have a time frame to continue to then take the loan before we then would lose the forgiveness? Do you understand what I'm saying?
There is a deadline, but I don't know what it is.
Best guess.
He's not gonna guess.
I don't even know what to guess on that.
Yes, Bobby?
There's one thing I'd like to see done before anything happens. About 7 or 8 months ago, we were doing some work on the industrial park. We drilled 4 wells out there. They ranged from 60 feet down to 105 feet. And one of the wells at 105 foot was low in nitrates. And we asked to do some more testing. I would like to ask the council just to slow down for 1 second and go down to the south well and drill 1 test well to 105 foot and see what that water is. That's 25 foot below where the well's setting. And I would like to know whether that water at 25 foot below where we're sucking off of it, or we're pulling off of that water, is below 1 part per million. And it'll cost about $5,000. I'd like to ask the council to do that. Just that will put my mind to ease.
But the problem I have with that is you could test it the very next day and it might test differently or high, you know? And we've spent $5,000 for nothing. You know, we've kind of done that already.
But you already spent
We
checking
didn't have to
this
make a
out.
decision tonight. You guys don't have to make a decision tonight. Just think on it.
But we've tested. We've tested, and we've spent $5,000.
Kevin and Bobby went and tested around the city.
At 80 feet or?
Way around the city. I don't know, you have to ask them.
depth of those wells.
They went 3 miles out of town. I don't know how far they went, but they went quite a ways.
And we had Ned Marks come out, is that correct? And spent money with him, you know, testing. And after everything kept testing high, and, you know, that's when we brought in Dawn. And that's, you know, we've kind of been there, done that.
$5,000 is nothing to what you guys have already spent. Give it a try.
No, but I agree with you, Sherry, but with Ned Marks, the bills it was going up and up and up and up. You can ask some of our council members.
To
Yes,
no
it
fault
was.
of Ned
Yes, it
Marks, but that's just how it worked.
Yeah,
you know, we just kind of kept paying money for, and we're like, how much do we spend before we, you know, spend way more, you know, trying to get answers to solve the problem, and instead maybe we just solve the problem.
It took that amount of money to get to the point that the final well out there was 105 foot deep. And that was a well that had less than 1 part per million nitrates. And Ned told me, he said, there's a possibility you could blend water. And we asked to do some more testing. We wanted to go down here at the Kanoki well and drill one to 105 foot and see what it was. And we got voted down.
And I think, what town was it?
I don't have a problem at all if you want to drill another well. I mean, to me, that's money, it's your money, you want to spend it, that's fine. I think what Belfry did 15 years ago is they did exactly that. They came up with a good well, and within 10 years it was over the limit on nitrates as well. You know, you could find a good well, and there's no guarantee that in 5
So it
years.
was kind of like putting a Band-Aid on it, you know, and I think that's where we got to the point where we're like, how many Band-Aids are we gonna have to put on this thing before, you know, we need to do the treatment facility.
Yeah, as long as you understand that if you find a well that is good and you spend $100,000, whatever it takes to drill it, there's no guarantee that you're going to get to use it for any length of time. As long as you understand that when you move forward, that's fine.
Mark?
Yeah, how often Bob, how many times was that tested? If you got a good well that's going on for about 5-10 years, you've been testing it regularly and it's coming up low and low and low and low continuously. How often was it tested? Just that
This
once?
one that I'm talking about was just a test well. It was tested one time, right after it was drilled. It's just a little 2-inch test well, all it is.
Right.
Oh,
But it's 25 foot below what our wells are here.
That new one test well up there is 5 inch. They pump a couple hundred gallons a minute out of it.
Right, yeah. That was the five.
For about 20 hours.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the low.
Was that the new one?
Yeah.
Out here,
Up to-
at the industrial park.
Okay.
yeah.
Industrial park.
It should probably be tested again in June. As soon as they fire up their irrigation.
Well, I think that's, you know, the reason on these wells might be viable for us is a low rate of pumping. And, you know, that's the plan
Yes.
for the treatment plan for any blending we would do. This would be at a low rate of pumping, not the 400 and 500 gallon amount that we pump out of our other wells.
But what I'm getting at, Mill, if we drill a test well down at the east or the south well, and it came in at 105 foot, low nitrate water, there's a possibility that we could blend that out of that well down there, right into that same well there, and bring them nitrates down.
The south well has the highest.
Or not the south well, the Kanoki well.
East.
East well, where?
Faces east now, Bob.
You understand what I'm saying? it may be such a thing, we could drill a well right there at 105 foot and blend it right there in that shack. Is that not possible, Don?
It is possible, as long as you understand that it may only be good for a year.
I understand that.
They
It's a
might
gamble.
lower it, and it might be good for 20 years.
And that's exactly right. It may be good for 50. Now, I will say this. I see nitrate maps of wells, I've seen them all over the state. And they'll go up, they'll go down a little bit, the general trend on every well that I have seen is up. I have never seen a general trend on nitrates go down.
I understand that. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
But unless you test that well and do a little plan down there, you don't know.
You're right.
Because the majority of the irrigation wells in this area are 80 feet. Maxville's got good water and they're at 105 foot with their city well. Haven't had an ounce of trouble. It's a gamble.
That's right.
It looks to me like it's a pretty good gamble.
It's up to you. I will put our work on hold if that's what you tell me to do.
I have one more question. Under administration, there is item number 2, administrative services agreement. Can somebody tell me what that is?
Under Donna, administrative services.
It's Rosemary Sanders with Ranson Consultants to administer the loan.
Okay, and I'm assuming that you guys are gonna approve it. Could be wrong. How much is that contract for?
It's for not to exceed $11,000, but it's at a hourly rate, I believe, of $85.
So we're willing to pay somebody $85 an hour to administer a contract up to $11,000, but we're not willing to spend $5,000 to punch another test well to see if we can find some more low nitrate water.
Good one.
Yeah, it's a very good point. But you guys make a decision to quit doing that and move forward with the nitrate plant.
And it sounds like now they've changed their minds.
Jill, we got voted down.
Yeah, it was a 3-2.
I brought it up and it was voted down. Not to test.
I thought you guys was.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Well, the vote was to quit testing where we were at. It was never brought up as a test somewhere else. It was brought up as, do we continue to pay what we've got over $20-some thousand in drilling and testing fees already out at the industrial park, and we still ain't got a well. So
But
if we gotta drill $20,000 worth of holes everywhere we go, which is basically the way Ned was explaining that, if I take it, for every hole we gotta punch, one well, we gotta punch 2 other holes to monitor what it's affecting. I mean, but the original vote was to end testing there.
Okay, I'd agree with that.
yeah.
At the industrial park. It wasn't, there was never another vote brought up that we don't want to test any other spot in town.
I guess I took it.
The vote was to end it down there. We spent $25,000 and we thought that was enough money.
I guess I
Before
took
we
it when
don't
it
have
was
well.
voted down that there'd be no more testing.
No,
We moved
no.
forward with
The vote was to eliminate, to quit testing down there, to quit poking holes down there. We spent enough, we thought, in that one general location. I mean, we drilled, what, 3 wells, 3 different depths.
I think that's correct.
And we found out if you hit bedrock, that's our lowest nitrate water. I mean, that's
That
what
was
we found out.
105 foot.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I mean, we don't have any, there's no test out there that tells us, and like anybody else is gonna tell you, that
And we have to have that.
if we pump it for a year, if it's gonna be good or bad, nobody knows it. But we know it's good at this part of the time, at bedrock. So.
But don't you have to kind of look like
The reason we
John
quit
said,
voting,
we're
the
not
reason we
gonna
voted
go
to quit that was to eliminate spending another $5,000 or $10,000 in one location.
Don't you have to kind of look at the history around us? And when it dawned, did you say it was Belpre? that did that in 15 years, I mean, you know, it's just a risk you have to decide whether you can afford to take.
That's exactly right. It is a risk that you have to make the
And
decision.
if the water treatment plant isn't done now, we find an alternative method, and then 15 years down the road,
It's gonna cost more money.
a lot more money.
And see, that's what happened to Belfry, is they funded theirs through rural development, put it on a
And it's
four-year
just a
payment.
calculated risk.
Yes, it's a calculated risk.
But Maxville's between here and Belfry, and they don't have any problem.
And what was the death of Belfry's well?
What was what?
The death of Belfry's well.
I don't know.
I mean,
I wasn't on that part of it, and I don't know the answer to how deep Belfry's wells are.
Any other towns around here having trouble besides Belfry? I mean, like Maxville is closer. Any
Lewis
other-
is.
That's
How about
where,
Iuka? I was told some time ago that Iuka has a problem.
I don't know. Sure. Pratt has several wells that they have abandoned because they're high in nitrates.
Yeah, if you were to look at a nitrate map, and the red and the orange is the worst part, and then it's further west.
Yeah, it's about the west
And it kind of seeps
third
into
to
our area.
third to half of the state. Everybody has potential nitrate problems. I hate to say that.
well, no, I'm a dry land farmer. It's the
I am too.
irrigation.
But, yeah, it's up to the council whether they want to take the risk or not. That is simply what it is.
I think we should put it on the agenda to see if the revenue of our inflated water price can afford another test well. You know, if you will, just get on the agenda and
For discuss.
to discuss.
For new business. No, old business, my bad. Old business. Well, I appreciate everyone coming this evening. Appreciate everybody being here and your time. Call the meeting back to order. Okay, party department. Michael.
The only thing I have is we'd like to have the beer garden on that Friday night from 7 to 1. In the same location.
And is it on Saturday? Not on Saturday, okay.
None whatsoever.
You can't serve after midnight. You can have it.
How did we do it before?
It was-
licensed to, I think so.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I thought we'd done it.
It's just a Saturday, Friday and Saturday,
Yeah, straight through beer.
no Saturday and Sunday.
No,
It's
I'm
certainly
talking about cereal malt beverage service. Is that the daytime or is that 7 o'clock at night?
7 at night to 1 o'clock in the morning.
And that's what my concern is. I don't think you can pass midnight.
I believe with, when I've discussed with, in the past with ABC, as long as, I don't remember if it was by city ordinance. I mean, it's the same way they do at the South Branch.
Yeah.
She receives
Yeah, but they
permission.
pull it off. They don't serve anymore. They don't sell anymore after midnight.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Well, she's not supposed to. It's in the city code that way.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah,
Move to approve till midnight?
I think.
Maybe we need to.
Either that or find
No,
out.
we didn't.
why.
We'll look out. We'll look
So
out.
I don't wanna limit it till midnight if we can go to 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the band's playing till 1.
Well, I think you need to.
That time I like to be that way.
Don, I think we've approved that till 1 o'clock in the past.
I'm not saying
For the
Yeah,
shower.
but I think that there's a state statute on that. so
Yeah.
I need to check the state statute because you can change your local ordinance, but you have to follow the state statute.
Yeah, it can be sold before midnight.
You can be sold before midnight, but I think we've let them have it on the table out of the South Branch, but they're not supposed to be selling after
Right.
midnight. Was the way it was supposed to be. That's the way that's the way they were told, but I'm sure that's probably not the way it has been enforced all the time.
Okay. Well, we'll check into it, Michael,
Okay.
and we'll get back with you.
Don't be fun haters.
You gotta say sassy, you gotta say sassy.
Don't be a fun hater.
There has been some changes in some of the.
Yeah, some of those
laws,
things are changed.
So
I
let's
feel-
find out. There's-
Okay.
Does it affect your planning?
Well,
We don't approve it tonight?
No.
No. Uh-uh.
We have 3 meetings.
You
Yeah.
could start it earlier too, if you had to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna affect the planning of it. So.
Okay. All right, is there any questions for Michael? No. Thank you, Michael. Police Department, Adam,
I just had what I requested for the addition.
Blazer bid,
What's that?
the Blazer.
Yeah, I just wanted, the 86 Chevy Blazer we have, we're still having problems with it's got a 24-volt system on it. We're having problems keeping the batteries charged. Basically, I want to know your guys' thoughts, opinions on putting it up for sealed bid. We're getting to where we're going to need to get into another patrol car pretty soon. And I've had some, people have approached us for years about whenever we put that for sealed bid, being interested in buying it. So I just want to throw that out there.
Okay.
It's starting to sink more money into it than I think it's worth.
Council's thought.
I think it was free originally, wasn't it? Wasn't it a grant from the government?
It was given, yeah, it was the KBI had them, because they're originally military. Then the KBI had them, and then it was given, just passed down to us.
I'm good with you putting it up for bid. I don't know how the rest of council feels.
Do you not need it?
We do, but it's not reliable. And we go out and start it, and it's dead. What we would like to do is replace it with the current truck that we've got, and then get something to replace it for another full-time patrol vehicle.
I don't have a problem putting it up for sale, but I think it'd be all right, be good to go.
I believe in the past there was a stipulation on it that I don't remember if we had to remove the stickers before it was sold, if the buyer had to remove them.
Have we checked in to see what it would cost to have it fixed? What the problems are?
Yeah, Gillespie's, basically the problem would be having to transfer it over from the old 24-volt system to a 12.
Which would cost what?
A few years ago, it was $500-600. I couldn't tell you what it is now. Because we elected, it costed enough the first time we thought we checked into it. We elected to take all of the emergency lights, radio, all that kind of stuff out of it because it was drawing everything down and thinking that was going to solve our problem, but it hadn't.
It's an 85 model,
86.
the gas or diesel?
6.2 diesel.
Is it 24 volt or 212?
It's 24.
I've looked at, and the headlamps say right in the middle, 12 volt. This discussion was years ago. And
I'm just going by what I was told by Gillespie's.
well, yeah, they may have
I'm not
overlooked,
looking
they may have overlooked it too.
So it's got 1 battery or 2 batteries?
Two.
Batteries.
All the 6.2 diesels have 2 batteries.
Yeah.
I don't know one that did with the 24, but I'm not
I don't have
military oriented either.
24 either.
Military, maybe something different.
I'll do some more checking if it doesn't
I'd be
matter.
more apt to check into it and see if it is 24, what it costs to get it switched over,
That work?
and just sell it and commit to buying another vehicle.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank
Is there
you.
any questions for Adam? Okay. Thanks, Adam. Troy, you want the executive session?
Yep.
Personnel. Someone make a motion?
I'll move for 10-minute executive session. in the police department.
Second.
You want, who you want in?
Well, it's a purpose.
Personnel.
Talking about personnel.
Personnel, for the council, the mayor, anybody else?
I think so.
Don?
No, council and the mayor.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
Who seconded it?
Melvin,
I got a new watch now.
can you tell your wife she's shopping too?
Go.
Call the meeting back to order. Okay, is there any questions for Adam? We already said that. Thanks, Adam. Administration, Mel.
Okay, I would like permission to run an ad for seasonal summer help like we did last year, help with the mowing, and it really helped us out a bunch, so I'd like to do the same thing if we could, just run an ad. See if we can get some.
Zach's not coming back.
Yeah, he's interested, but we still need to run it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do you need a motion on that, or just a consensus?
So moved.
Okay.
Second. Or
Yeah.
fourth, whatever.
Aye.
All opposed say no. And, okay. Is there anything else, Mel?
The only other thing that we added on was the power poles. We just got the price in yesterday on the half load of 40-foot power poles, $5,890.77.
We done approved that, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what.
No, you didn't approve that.
You
You
approved
moved
to
it,
put
you
it on
moved to
the
put it on the agenda.
Oh, I thought
It wasn't in the consensus.
I thought we did.
Oh, I thought we did too.
Well, I'll make a
Okay.
motion to approve it.
That's all right.
Because it's over the spending limit, it's good to have a motion just like that, so the
I'll make a
auditors
motion to
can.
approve.
Bobby seconded it. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Thank you. Yes, Kevin?
Hey Mel, how many poles is that?
18. Wow. $305 a piece. That's bigger pole, 40.
That means I got overcharged about 10 years ago. Cost me $1,000 every month.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, thanks, Mel. Administration, Johnny?
Wait a minute, you said $305 a pole,
Yep.
times 18?
Yeah, there's tax on that though. Yeah, electric tax. Yep.
Okay.
John,
Yes.
thank you.
What you need, John?
I was just looking for one of my agenda items that I have to consult here.
The drawdown one?
Pardon me?
The copy?
Yeah,
You need it?
I'm sure it's here, I just have so
I know, I do too.
papers. Thank you.
Is that what you wanted?
No.
Municipal leadership.
No, the drawdown one. Go ahead, John.
Well, the first thing on the agenda is that grants and financial consultants, Rosemary has given us her bid on doing the loan administration. I sent that in your packet.
Administrative services agreement?
Yes. She did a not to exceed amount, and it may not even come to that. She just did a not to exceed so that you would understand that there wouldn't be anything over that.
Now, I have a question regarding this. Now, maybe I misunderstood, but I think there's a lot of people in the community that may have misunderstood. When she was at that very first meeting in September, this was her, right, Rosemary
Yes,
Saunders? She said that she's not getting paid for that now.
This part of it is.
Okay, so this is
That was
completely
just to
different.
do the loan application and everything.
Okay,
We did not pay her to do the loan application or any of that. They're contracted from KDHE to do that. Once the loan is given, though, then we have to pay for the administration of that.
okay. Well, all I gotta say is I'm in the wrong business if she's getting $85 an hour. Plus mileage, relevant expenses and so
You're on
forth.
the wrong one, aren't you?
No, right here.
And there's probably not,
Yes.
there's probably not gonna be, this is probably one of her regular things, so there's probably not gonna be mileage and travel expenses and stuff. You know, this, unless you guys want her to come out for something.
So this is part of that. This is gonna be part of it. the only person that can do this job.
No, that's Bob Heller, or Don Heller, we could have him do. We could get bids from Don if you wanted to. I mean, not Don, EDH.
Right? Well, Mark brings a pretty good point, $85 an hour. I don't really know.
You're paying for a professional.
That's pretty standard, guys, quite frankly.
Well, I don't know that that's wrong. I'm not saying that's wrong.
No, it's, I'm not either. I'm just saying I don't think it's out of line either. I don't think I think it's pretty typical
If we,
that line of work.
if we ask to have a bid by a couple other companies,
Yeah.
is it gonna screw anything up,
No,
hinder any process?
no.
And why don't we do that?
Okay, who do you want bids from? I mean, I don't, other than Don, guess I can ask, KDHE who they have for other loan administrators. I'll try to get, how many other bids do you want?
Can we do this with a local bank by any chance?
No, what?
A loan administrator. He wanted to know if we could do
Can we
this
do it
at a
at a
local
local
bank.
bank?
No, it's not that, I mean, the loan is done. She's going to be the one that when the bills start coming in, getting the drawdown from the state, doing all, that's not what they would do at a local bank. I don't think, I can call over and find out, but I think there's training that they do to do USDA, KDHE, rural water. It's not like they have their own kind of set of stuff, probably not unlike other people have their own set of stuff. So I'll just call KDHE and find out who we can get bids from.
It's tough to get bids now that this is in a public meeting.
Pardon me? Huh?
What? Well, it's tough to get bids. I mean, if you really want someone lower, they're gonna come in at $85 an hour, or maybe $80 an hour. See what I'm saying?
I think.
You could ask around.
Well, and that's true. I mean, if we take, to me, you're taking bids don't
You're
get
not
open.
saying sealed bids or anything.
Right.
If somebody wants to,
I would guess that there's anyone that works through KDHE to do all their, what's listed here, A, B, and C, this is probably a pretty standard fee no matter who does it through KDHE. I mean,
Obviously, they're recommending her to do it because she's
had
what
the
she's
training.
doing. She's had the training. It's just plugging in the numbers.
It might just eliminate a lot of other problems if we just.
let's do 3 bids.
Is there any chance that Julianne Owens could do this?
I would have to ask. I don't know if she's had the training.
I don't either.
I haven't had the training.
Might be worth asking her. Don't you think?
We could ask.
Ask her.
The worst she'll say is, I can't do it.
Yeah. No, she might do it for $40 an hour.
Yeah, but that's just,
I'd do it for $40 an hour, it may not come out right, but it.
Okay,
Well,
whatever.
therein lies the
She's done a
problem.
lot of work for nothing, you know.
Yeah,
Put her,
that's true.
if she can do something like that.
Absolutely, we could ask.
But if she hasn't had the training, how do you know it's gonna be right? I guess that's what I'm,
Well, that's what we need to ask her.
I mean, I could do it, but I don't think you want really me to do it. It's gonna take me longer, I'm not gonna get my other work done if I'm doing this, but to me, the people that are accustomed to doing the forms and working with people that they know they work with, and work hand in hand with KDHE
I mean, they did our loan for
is a
us.
logical thing. But if you want, and there's probably other ones that have done the same thing. You know, she's not the only company that works with KDHE, I'm sure.
They did our loan for us.
I imagine they have some kind of list of people who've been through the training, and I can,
Well, I'd make a motion to open it up for 2 or 3 bids if we can find them.
okay, then you can just do a consensus
Second.
on that. And the second thing is, I just kind of did a synopsis here. Our first, and actually she's already put this together as free of charge to you, this first drawdown, because it's time to get some of these invoices paid. And on the sheet there, it shows what our invoices are to date to EVH and what we paid in 2011 already and what still needs to be paid. So we have $40,000 encumbered from last year to go towards the nitrate removal plant expenses. So your options are to get the full down amount, which is, we could do the whole $123,500.01, or we could just do the current amount that's due, or we could do, ask for the drawdown of the current amount less the $40,000 that we already have encumbered. And from what I understand, you guys are trying not to incur a lot of expenses and start incurring any accruing interest. So my recommendation is that we just do the amount that's currently due minus the $40,000 that we already have encumbered.
Okay, but if we do the full amount, is that total amount goes to that loan and will be subject to the 30% forgiveness or not?
The forgiveness is on construction. It's
Okay.
on the actual work done.
Okay.
So it really won't, what we draw down, shouldn't make any difference. And if we find ourselves in a cash flow situation later on before the project's actually completed and the loan numbers are totaled, we could go ahead and draw down to that full amount, and then you're paying interest on the back end of that instead of the front end of it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So in other words, she's already done this for us. So she's already in the process of trying to help us out. I mean, trying to do her work.
She already did the first paperwork for the drawdown. She did it for the full amount.
Yeah.
But all I have to do is call her and ask her to change the amount.
But do you guys see the point there? Rosemary already started the process of.
And she said she was doing that free because we hadn't gotten to the contract. She hadn't gotten them to me, and you guys hadn't had a chance to look at it, and she will understand that we're doing bids. But she did do it in good faith, so.
And I don't think this says either that she's gonna charge us $11,000. It says not to exceed amount of. Would that be correct?
Yes.
I mean, it could be $5,000.
Even if she puts in more hours, she won't
She
charge
just
us
isn't
more.
going to exceed that amount, so.
Well, we already voted to take the bids, so
Well,
it really doesn't, I mean, we're
Right,
not,
but
we're
they're
not
not gonna
arguing the
vote.
rates or anything.
right. I was just pointing that out, that she's already, did that for you guys. So what's your consensus on that?
Well, to me, if we can save the interest on the front side, I'd save it on the front side. Use the encumbered 40,000, save the interest up front.
Oh, yeah.
Where's the interest?
So you want to go with the recommendation here?
Well, to me, that would make sense, to save the interest up front.
Is there a question?
Yeah, if we can pay the $84,713 without starting our loan or drawing interest,
Yes, but what we can do is just do it, since we've encumbered the 40,000, we could just draw down the 44,000 So you're just starting interest on the 44,000,
That's-
because we've already expensed
This is the amount.
the 40,000 that we encumbered. We have cash flow to be able to pay, we still have to pay the full 84,000.
You bet.
But we only have to draw down 44. We can't,
Which if we do it this way, it'll save us the interest between now and at that point, if we decide to do it at that point.
yeah, on $78,000.
Yes, I agree with Joy.
So with this, we probably need a motion so that it's in our records.
Could I, a motion please?
Well, it's not like we have a choice, we owe it, so I recommend we go ahead and do the way it's projected, and that way, like I said, we'll save money up front, the interest money up front.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Mark? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
And that is all I have.
Is there any questions for Donna? Old business, large animal?
So, that guy, I don't know if you guys wanna talk about any other, connections or the private roads.
Put it back on there, Donna. Number one, put it back on old business, please. Number two? Private well,
One thing I got on that is, why would, the way I understood it to begin with, that'll cost everybody more money. Make it, we're gonna put restrictions on guys coming in and drilling wells more than what they say.
Not necessarily, we're just ensure there's gonna be an inspection process that people are coming in when they do drill a well, it is done according to state regulations. We're not trying to implement any new drilling regulations other than when we join this group area coordinator, that they'll take care of the inspection. It's gonna cost them another $100 for the permit fee, and we'll be able to have someone ensure us that it's being done to state specifications. We're not trying to impose any new regulations other than what's already in place.
But other than just having somebody come and say, yep, they did it right, I mean, they gotta be certified to do it anyway, correct?
You know as well as I do that just because they haven't licensed doesn't mean that.
Well, I agree with that, but I would just, to me, it makes, why do we wanna make it more difficult or more expensive for somebody to drill a private well to water their yard?
$100 just to make sure that it is done correctly. That's all, that's what you're gonna pay that for.
But I'm just saying, from us, as a city standpoint, for everybody that ain't using well water to water their yard, or our water to water their yard, it's gonna save us money in the long run anyway. Correct?
You guys, but, Ed Marks, he was the one we talked about initially, he said, we really need to make sure that before we just pretty much open it up, and we said for years, that was the requirement that they use state drillers and use state regulations. This is an inspection, if you want that done, then that's up to you guys, but it'll just be an extra assurance that it's done right.
it only makes sense that it's done right.
The guy that does the, there's a, I can't remember his name, but anyway, he has done it. He's seen, once they know that they are monitoring people, he has seen, and it's nothing to him really, but he says once they know that drillers know that they're gonna be out checking them, that they've seen an improvement in some of the, if they weren't on the job, things are done, or if it isn't done, they do correctly. So that's all I can add to it.
So do you guys wanna take some action on that?
I would like to see us go ahead and, I don't know the proper wording to move ahead with the,
But that cost will be passed to the person drilling the well.
Right, $100.
Don worked up, and we've talked about this and tabled it so many times. I've got the
right.
copies of everything here, and Don worked up an ordinance regulating the construction of new water wells within the city limits of St. John, and it spells it all out. And with that, we would join this group and then get involved with them as far as having to do the inspection. So, if you want, I can give out the information to you one more time if you want to study it some more. I don't care, but I want you guys to be informed. I mean, it's been a long time since we've really talked
I'm
about
gonna
it.
pass that down.
I don't know, I feel like it should be inspected. I mean,
Well, I do too, but in a way, why do we want to, like I said, that,
The $100 sounds steep to me.
well, that one, it depends on
for
how
an
you look at
inspection?
it. It's pretty cheap for the city as far as the city to say.
The county just raised theirs to 100 here a year ago or 2 years ago.
This is the same group, same people.
I have one, no, that's okay.
Oh, yeah, so we're not even setting that rate, are we?
That's what he asked.
They're gonna go to the city and apply, and then you're gonna call it that.
Yeah, he has to be there on
Just like
site.
the county.
So you basically leave the city out of it.
Well, no, well,
All
No, they
all
have-
money's going to the
but they have to come in and apply for a permit to drill.
That's right. They have to do that outside.
And so inside the city limits, they'd have to come into the city of St. John to get a permit to drill.
Don't they already have to get a permit to drill?
No.
I'll give you guys an outside. Right.
Same one.
I don't know, you took my first one I had, you don't keep your information.
I've got it.
Well, start bringing it. Do your homework. Quit copycat.
In the country, this ordinance doesn't allow you to set your water well within 50 feet of your septic tank.
It's 100, it was 100, because you guys wanted to go with what the county said. Am I right, Mel?
Right. Originally, when we first talked about it, you guys wanted 100.
You said it was 100.
Yeah, I got the county that was Price County.
And then the next meeting, you guys backed it to 50. So,
And he said that he would, whatever, as long as it wasn't against a state regulation, we could, whatever we wanted, they would enforce. So if you guys want to change it, you can, but they wouldn't go against anything that's a state requirement. But if we wanted to do anything different, they would enforce whatever you guys decide.
What was the state requirement again?
I didn't say what it,
It's only for septic tanks. I mean, you can drill, next to your sewer line. If you cross it with the water line, you double case the sewer, you double case the water. It's just,
the county's is 100, Bobby. And that's what you guys wanted to go with at first.
from the well to the septic tank. There's not a lot of those instances that he's gonna have to enforce in the city limits. And I think he has to be,
So then Don wrote it up, then you guys wanted it changed back to 50.
Okay, wasn't that also including a sewer line? Like if you see sewer line running through the alley, you have to be 50 feet off of that sewer line. That's the reason we backed that up from 100, because the lots are only 100 foot deep. There's no way you can drill a well on a lot.
that
Right.
makes sense.
I'm going from my memory here, and it's been a long time ago.
And you have to be 50 feet from a wooden structure.
Yes?
by the time you get all them regs on it, you know, you take a 40-foot lot, you can't drill a well.
Or they split the difference. I mean, are we gonna prohibit a well from being put in?
It's whatever the state, these guys are gonna enforce whatever the state regulations. Right now, see what you're saying is it's a matter of interpretation of whatever the driller can make work. I mean, if we're gonna get any kind of control on this, that's,
I think we ought to see what the state statute says.
well, they're gonna enforce whatever the state, these guys, and I've got my file, it's Central Kansas Local Environmental Planning Group. Is who this is, and the county uses, they've been a member of this for years, and that's who they use on septic tank. They came down and did the inspection on Don Taylor's septic tank for us. Like I say, they do all the county.
But it only makes sense if they're inspected and done right. I mean, Ned said that himself, Ned Mark. What are we waiting on? So, or does the council? I mean, what's wrong with making sure someone's putting a well down and it's done correctly?
There's no problem with that.
Okay.
They do it all the time. So do we need to fill this in now, 50 feet, $100, and then with the blank.
Ordinance 10, or 10, 11.
10, 11?
But do we know how far that,
Have,
how far it has to be away from a certain structure, or
isn't that in here?
I don't see any feet, any specific guidelines, no. It says it has to meet the state requirements.
Come on, I thought he did that for you guys.
I mean, it's all open.
I think that's because there was some discussion on the footage on that, so.
Okay, so we need to put the footage in there and then out. And you guys want it at 50? Council, speak to me, please. I can't read your shaking heads.
50 from a city main.
But that's as,
On the back page.
yeah, but that's not the water deal.
That's not, that is.
Oh,
That's the environmental sanitary code.
That's the next.
That's what I was saying. There is nothing here that lets us fill anything out or tells us any feet or anything like that.
So, so you need to have, so we need to have Dawn draw up something that's.
Give us the guidelines that
Okay,
the state is gonna make them follow or that we can change.
okay, but you want 50 feet, is that what you're wanting initially?
50 feet and $100
That's standard.
for the permit. So have him get that drawn up and we'll bring that to the
And that
next.
would be 50 foot from any house or anything? Is that right, Kevin, or just your?
Well, it's 50
Sewer
foot,
line.
it's 50 feet from a wooden structure. We have termites. It's in the country. You know, and then 100 feet from a sewer septic tank. Sometimes it's tough, and like in sewer, you know, septic tank, water well, 10 feet. He only owns so much property. There's one at every
Okay.
house in sewer.
Okay, so have Dawn draw that up now, please.
All right.
I'm sure they'll use their best judgment for their $100.
Okay, now,
I'm sure they'll use their best judgment for $100. Right? He's a good guy, works with him. I mean,
Yeah, but if it's set in stone at 50 feet, he won't go under 50 feet.
oh yeah. Yeah.
okay, service connection? No? What'd you do with that? Did I give you that?
It's on the back page of this.
No. That's an environment. What, did we need to change anything on that? Huh? John, what are you talking about? The ordinance adopting the Stafford County Environment, oh,
That's another ordinance that Don had drawn up, and this would be regard to the,
Disregard if you want to put a septic
septic
system.
tank in, if we don't have a sewer in a reasonable distance from the sewer. And that's, the other one, the old ordinance said it was within a block, and I didn't know if you, Don, maybe, you changed it in here to see if you wanted to make it a certain amount of feet. And that gives the same thing as like Kevin said, 50 feet, 50 feet, and do we do anything different? The old ordinance said if there was a sewer within a block, you'd be required to hook to it. So, didn't know if you wanted to change that to, set feet, and that's always going to be, it's always going to be off sometime. So, I don't know if that's would be the best thing to do it, or use the old one as far as change the wording on that. This one here we can work on it a little bit, because there's not a big, we don't have that come up that often, but something we need to look at. So you want to try and go with a footage type thing that they would be allowed to go by?
Like you said, every instance you may have change.
Yeah, that's why the old ordinance said if there was a sewer within a block, is what basically the language was. So in other words, and that was initially probably when the town was first developing, people had their own septics or an outhouse or whatever, and the city put in a sewer, and the sewer was within the block they were living, and they were required to hook to it. So it's a little bit different now. We've got sewers in a lot of places, but we did have the occasion come up where it wasn't a reasonable situation to make them hook to it. So if you want to wait on that one, think about it a little more. So.
I say table.
okay, and then we have the service connection right beside the water well. Kevin, I handed that one to you, didn't I? Oh, no, I didn't. It's right there. Did you hand it? Do you have that mail or not?
He handed it out to you, and then he picked it back up.
That's the one I gave you first, I should use that.
Man. Many trees.
I don't think I do.
Maybe if,
If I remember right, my only objection to this was that expense to that person is from the meter to their house. That's not for them to have, that's not for the city to have to, shouldn't have to pay for the city to put their meter in.
That's the way it is.
I don't care, it's just ain't right. It's just,
if you want water, you build a house and there's no water service there, you pay for the initial installation of that. And then from that day forward, if the line breaks, leaks, deteriorates, whatever, the city will take care of it, but the homeowner takes care of the initial expense on installation. No labor, just materials.
I agree, whatever. From the meter to their house, that'd be something different.
I'd have to agree with Troy.
Now, Bobby, if you agree with that, then we're gonna have to reimburse the membership
There's
church.
the old ordinance right
And Dollar
there.
General.
And it says right in there.
This is now or in the future. Get you out of that.
I have one. Thank you.
Right? Yeah, we're not gonna make first today.
No, but if you change it, Kevin, that's what I'm saying. You're gonna open up the can of worms. You know it's been that way. You've been on the council longer than I have.
Well, I guess that is right.
To me, public water main is from the meter all the way back to the well.
The city water main is a distribution system. From the water main, from the service line to up and including the meter is a service line.
And after it's installed, now maintenance is to the back of the meter.
Yes, that's what he
Or in
said.
front
Up
of
to
you.
and including the meter.
I have to vote no.
Why?
We'll have to
Just ask them.
think of a list of people that aren't prepared to start paying for their water. That they're not ever gonna use.
Maybe they have to have water.
No, I'm saying, nobody south of Lamoureux, anybody on Lamoureux, no one on that street has city water. It's there, but there's no meter.
Okay, so they've all drilled their own wells.
That water line was put in, and that, for my grandparents, and it went on their taxes on their house. And they paid it off the year before I moved in. And I'm saying the taxpayer paid for that water line, and they didn't connect to it. I think that's a fair statement. They paid to have that water line put in. On everybody's landowner, if you own more land, you pay for more of the water line. And it was their choice to hook onto it or not. It's already paid for. I don't know, maybe it's nonsense.
Is that the way it was
The
set
main.
up?
The water
If
main.
the water main and the sewer main were both on there. They had to get, everybody agreed, they wanted city water and city sewer.
And then they didn't hook to it.
Right, it paid off in the early 90s. When I moved in, thank goodness.
So they paid to have the water main, but they didn't go ahead and took.
Right, they
services
set a
to
fire
it.
hydrant and that's it.
But you gotta think about farming, everybody.
So if we were to put in, and I'm saying if, because I don't want to be accused of lying, but if we were to put in the water treatment facility, what ramifications does this have with that? Do we need to do this to pay, you know, is that in the rates that,
The rate study was done without these
the
extras.
service connections? Okay. So, okay.
The question could be is that if enough people decide to drill their own wells, and, you know, this is how, that's what brought this up, is that, you know, people say, well, I'm gonna drill my own well, I'm gonna quit using city water. Well, if you do that, yes, revenue's gonna go down, you know, how many people are gonna do it? Some people that are on, you know, may drill their own well and think they can hook to city water and their own water well, which, you know, we can't allow that. So, you know, that's what you're gonna get into. And that's the question that came up was, with their water meter in, even if they say they don't want it, do we have the right, or can we still bill it for a minimum fee? So, I don't know how widespread that'll be, but that's what brought this all about.
But I thought there was already a ordinance that stated that you had to have a water meter already.
This, if you look on the old one there,
The city code.
Wishy-washy. What's up, official and what it reads.
Right.
The one that's highlighted.
right, you'll read through there, the question was, can we still send them a bill? To me, it's kind of open. If you remember when we first started talking about this, we felt it left it kind of open. So if you want to close that up, the new ordinance would do that.
Well, I think if it's, kind of vague, we need to, I mean, basically, this new ordinance is just putting it in the right term.
That's what that's what his attempt was to.
Yeah. Putting it in the right terminology so people don't, so this doesn't read as vaguely as it does now.
That was the intent.
I'll move to leave it the same.
But you send them a bill and they say, we're not hooked up to city water, how do you expect to get that? Have them pay that?
It's gonna be tough.
So are you for the city of St. John? You're a council member, are you for the city of St. John?
I'm for the voting private sector. That's what they want.
You have a motion on the table.
They don't want a $3 million nitrate plant. You just base your study off your 679 meters and leave the other people alone.
That's not my study. There's no second?
I'd second.
Any more discussion? That question, Troy?
I don't know.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Did we have everybody vote? No.
No. No answer. When she asked for a vote, is a yes vote. So there it goes.
Abstention goes with the,
Yes vote.
goes with the
Majority.
majority. But that's not an abstention. If you're gonna abstain, you have to give a reason why you're abstaining.
I abstain because I don't agree with it. I just don't.
yes vote?
If you don't agree with it, it should be a no vote.
I just don't, I don't know, this right here, I just don't,
Kevin's not talking about that, Mark. He's talking about the old ordinance.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
this right here.
The highlighted one in the back.
See that one right there. Yes.
It's 41.
Did Troy know?
He hasn't said anything, so
I haven't said anything. Yes or no?
So that's a yes.
Leave it alone, whatever that is, whatever.
The motion was to leave the code the same, so that would be A. So,
So we want to leave it vague so people can read into it what they want. Is that what we're voting to do?
41.
Well, at this time, we just voted to leave it the way it is.
So are we gonna address it at another time?
I think you need to make it more clearer, but, I mean, the vote's the vote, but I think you all need to look at that again and make it more clear. Okay, code of procedures,
Yeah, we was, last time I think, when we brought this up, Bobby had wanted to see the, Robert's Rules of Order.
just what? Did you have to bring these books?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Well, you know, after looking through some of the things online and, you know, they're just guidelines. Have nothing to do with what we want to take out of here. Okay.
What doesn't? Robert's Rules?
Robert's Rules of Order, no, they don't. They have nothing to do with this.
Right.
Nothing to do with taking this out right here.
Right.
Okay, so, I mean,
The
this,
code of procedure was adopted by the League of Municipalities
well, that's true, but I'm saying,
to make it,
this,
to make meetings go smoother.
right. Okay, but this we can take out. I don't see the point of having this right here.
I don't know what you're looking at.
Huh?
I don't hear.
All part is out.
Citizens desiring to comment on matters of a general nature not specific to an agenda item shall sign up in advance of the meeting and shall provide his or her name and address for the purpose of putting both in the minutes of the meeting. Any public comment taken on specific agenda items shall require the citizen to state his or her name and address for the minutes. Okay, this is under section 7, public comment under Code of Procedures. Okay, I have here, all persons wishing to make a public comment at a meeting shall notify the office staff by noon the Friday before the regularly scheduled meeting as to the basic content of the public comment. Any comments not presented to the office staff prior to the meeting can be ruled by the mayor to be out of order. Such person can be ejected from the meeting if there is a disturbance. I don't feel we need that. Everybody in this community should be allowed to come in and speak to us.
It's not saying they can't speak.
I just don't see the reason for having
Well,
this.
let me say the reason the code of procedure was adopted was because we had some large outbursts.
That's not in dispute, but this week,
No,
people want to come in here to a meeting and they don't need to come on a Friday and be heard, say, I want to get on the agenda. They don't need to do that.
Let me
This,
finish what
they
I'm
need to
saying.
come in here and just be able to be heard. Whether they're going to, you know,
present something, that's fine. We can table whatever it is they present until we get a better idea.
Okay. What I was trying to say was the reason we put the code of procedures into action is because throughout the meeting, it didn't matter where in the meeting, we were getting outbursts from people visitors. And so rather than having to deal with the outbursts throughout the meeting and it disrupting the meeting, we decided to put the code of procedures in, and that gives us the citizens comment area. Now, if we were to maybe put in an announcement area, if they wanted to come and announce like hot summer nights or something like that, or if they wanted to complain, I think we need to be aware of the complaint before they come to the meeting so we know how to deal with that.
I kind of disagree. That's making your mind up before you even hear the citizen make his complaint. And like I said, it's no different than in your business when somebody walks in and asks, Amy, they ask you a question, you don't know it. You just don't come up with some liner. You know what? You go, man, I don't know. I'll have to get back with it. And that's basically what you do when you table it. You just say, thanks for your concern. We're going to table it so we have time to look at it, but you've heard their side of it, and you're not walking into me. You walk into it already with your mind made up before you even heard their comment.
I just think it's being prepared. I just would rather be prepared than have it hit me, blindside me, which has happened.
I think the mayor has the ability to yield any amount of time to any person out there. Whether it's a large group, we need to keep it 3 minutes. If it's not a large group, in 5.
You can allot them a different amount of time depending on the number of people who are going to want to make a comment.
So do we need to delete
I just don't think in any
I
way, shape, or
would move
form.
that we delete this.
last paragraph?
The last paragraph right here.
But I do think that someone someday could get out of line and you would need to say, Sergeant, you need to remove this person. If they keep getting outbursts.
Leave that in there.
Yeah.
I mean, if they ain't going to do it the proper way, then leave the clause in there where the mayor can get her out. I mean, get them out of there. But if somebody walks in here and under citizens comment section and they're a little PO'd about something and they get a little out of hand, they shouldn't be ejected just because they get mad, just like we shouldn't. I mean,
No, it's
you
just,
can't eject me if I get mad. So, I mean, why should it be any different?
I just don't think it's in there to take away people's rights. I don't think that's what it's
Yeah,
preventing.
it's just to have a conduct meeting.
Yeah, it's just to help us run the meeting smoothly. Now, there's citizen comment area, and, you know, I think additions and all that can be made right before the meeting. Is that correct?
When we make additions to the meetings, you guys put in here, if the citizen comment wants to make an addition, they just ask one of you guys to sponsor.
I don't understand why they need to sponsor it, or why we need to sponsor it.
That's what it's
We
written.
are, well, I understand it, but
That's all I'm saying, is that's how
On
it's
the
written.
agenda.
they voted us in here, so I guess in all rights, we're sponsoring every one of them every minute. So, what's the difference?
I'm not arguing with you, this is what I've been given to go by.
I know.
Mark,
Yeah.
listen, please. Can I just ask, have you called anyone from leading municipalities and asked them about it?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I mean, that's just it, just a minute. You're not allowed to speak.
I apologize.
Okay.
And I've had my hand up for forever,
You're
but
not-
I'm not
this-
allowed to
this is
speak
not
either.
an
And that's
open
the whole
discussion.
problem, is you guys don't get any input from your citizens, and that's what's
Okay,
caused
quiet,
all this.
please.
See,
Okay,
I
go
mean,
ahead. Mark.
I just don't see the point of having this.
Okay.
We work for them.
exactly.
They voted us in here.
You know what? I know that, but what I'm saying
They
is,
should be allowed to be heard.
Mark, they are under citizen comments. action by the League of Municipalities. They are the government. They understand how these meetings run. They're trying to make it work, and I don't understand why you would not call them and get more information on this.
Because everything I need is right
before you start deleting
here.
it out.
Everything I need is right
But
here.
maybe there's a reason it's there.
Everything I need to know about this that I see as wrong is right here.
I don't think
Yes, I think the citizens shouldn't have to jump through hoops to
They
come and
don't.
speak to us.
They do not.
Can I inject one thing? Because I have tried to get on to make a citizen's comment, and I was told no, I could not.
Who'd you talk with?
And when was that?
I sent you an email and said, could you please put me on the agenda or something so that I can talk to the city council? And you said no.
And when was that?
4, 5, 6 months ago, I don't know,
Was
emails.
it after noon on Friday?
No, it was about Tuesday or so. It was way early in the week, and you said no.
Well, I don't recall
still
that
have
at
the
all.
email attached to my
I
bulletin
mean,
board. And regardless, I mean,
It's
you're talking
possible I
about
made a
this.
mistake going by this, but I would think not.
Okay, to me, it's
If-
no different than having a deadline in the newspaper at
Okay,
noon
but
on
what I'm
Friday.
saying is I called way prior to your deadline and asked if I could address the city council, and the reply I got in the email was no, I could not address the city council. I had to go get a city council member to sponsor me. But you've got the citizens' comments on your agenda. Therefore, I'm already on the agenda. I'm a citizen, I have a comment to make to the council, I'm already on the agenda. I shouldn't have to go to John and say, can I get on the agenda to make a comment at the city council meeting?
So is that the
I'm
problem you
already
have
on.
to me, Terry?
Huh?
Is that the problem that you have to come to me?
The problem is that you guys shut me down.
And I apologize, if I
You
really
know,
did
I was
that,
shut down. I was
if
not
I
allowed to.
really did that, I
It's- I've
apologize.
got it.
Okay, so wait a minute, okay, stop, just stop. There's nothing wrong with asking any of these people up here, or myself, if you can be on the agenda.
Why should I have to go through that? I'm already on the agenda. Citizens' comments.
There's nothing
So
wrong.
why do I need to try to track you down, or track Amy down, or track Troy down, or track Mark down, or track Kevin down, or track Bob down to say, hey, I want to talk to the city council about our office furniture that's been in the sheriff's department for forever. We need to get that settled up. Why should I have to go to one of them and talk to them about it? I should be able to just say, hey, citizens' comments, we
Okay,
need to
so
address this
do you
matter
not
here.
think that if you had a question like that, and by the time it came to council meeting night, and you came to the council meeting and discussed that, by that point in time, that we would have an answer for you?
No, I wouldn't expect you to. I would expect to come up and say, here's the issue, here's what's going on, here's the stuff. You guys talk about it, make your decisions, get back to me at the next council meeting, let me know what you decided. That's exactly what I wanted to do. That was my exact impression. I had a letter I was going to bring in. Here's the furniture that we have up here. Here's the understanding. We either need to get it bought or taken out. You guys look it over, decide what you want to do, get back to me. That was all I wanted to do. But I
Okay, so this
told I
was
couldn't
5
get on
months
the
ago, and you've seen us all since then, and it hasn't been brought to us?
No, because I was told I couldn't get on city council and talk to it, so I thought, forget it, we're gonna address it a different direction. But it's just like I said, if somebody comes up and wants to make a comment about something or bring something to the city council, they should be able to do it without jumping through hoops. And you keep saying, has anybody talked to the Kansas municipalities? You gotta realize,
Has anybody what?
the Kansas municipalities that made this up. You got to realize that they work for the Kansas municipalities. They're going to protect your municipalities, just like if you would say, I'm going to file a charge against the newspaper for defamation of character. You don't call the Kansas Press Association and talk to our attorneys, because they're going to be defending the newspaper. They're not going to tell you stuff that's going to work in your benefit. That's just like a private citizen calling the Kansas municipalities and asking them about ordinances or procedures or something like that. They're going to tell me what protects their group, and they're going to set up a set of code of procedures to protect their group. They're not out to protect citizens. I don't think your Kansas League municipality people are even elected officials, are they? I think they're.
But I don't know,
they're
the way I
appointed paid
feel, I mean,
positions, so-
it's like any other board meeting, and I call this a board, that, you have to be on the agenda to speak.
and you sign up that day. I mean, look at Wichita, city council meetings in Wichita, you go to them, you sign up when you walk in. Stafford, same thing, you wanna talk to the agenda, or you wanna talk to the council, you sign up when you walk in that night. Wichita Board of Education, Martin Board of Education, Martin City Council, Great Bend City Council, I've been to them all. You walk up, you wanna speak, you sign in on an agenda when you
Well, I
walk
feel
in
like-
that night.
I feel like since we adopted those, that the meetings have been running very smoothly.
And the citizens feel like they've got a barrier there.
Yeah, we hear it all the
There's,
time in the
there's the
newspaper.
difference. It's, I know I'm out of line, but that's what it is. It feels like a barrier. You can't get in to make a comment unless you clear it with somebody. Right?
If you feel like it needs to be changed, make a motion, see if we get a second, see what happens.
I already made a motion on it
I'll second it.
What was the motion?
to remove sections of this right here.
What section? I need
Okay.
specifics here so I can get it right.
Section 7,
Section 7, public comment. And you're looking at the last paragraph here.
It's all one paragraph, section 7?
Well, the very last paragraph, all, starting with all persons wishing to make a public comment at a meeting shall notify the office staff by noon the Friday before the regularly scheduled meeting as to the basic content of the public comment. I don't have a problem with what Kevin said here, that this last section right here, any comments not presented to the office staff prior to the meeting. Now, we can amend this. If somebody comes in here and doesn't get on the agenda during that meeting, and they start to get out of order, then the mayor can rule them out of order and have them ejected.
Of course, that's at any meeting.
Yes.
so we could just eliminate the noon on Friday.
Right.
We
And
can
it
still
goes
do-
under the citizens comment section.
Yes.
Is the only
Public
time
comment.
that'll be open.
And
Correct?
And
do
then
you
you're,
want them to sign in, or how do you want them to do that?
Okay, so maybe we need to rewrite this and re-adopt it rather than trying to make a motion to change it.
And that would work.
So, Mark, can you write that up the way you'd like it? We can present it to the council the
all we
next
have
time.
to do is just eliminate that one
The one sentence,
one sentence right there.
okay?
And then the rest of it, on the next, any comments not presented to the office the staff prior to the meeting, we can reword that. Any comments or not presented to staff prior to that meeting at that night, however we want to word it. I mean, I just want to see this noon by Friday.
Okay, I think that's reasonable, but I don't think we should just leave it up to Jonna to reword it for us. I think
Right.
you probably need to just write it up and present it, and that way, I don't have a problem with that either.
Well, I've got a motion on the table here, and it's already been seconded, so
Who
what do we
seconded?
do about that? Bobby did.
You can either withdraw your motion or,
Well, what's the actual vote? Just to change it?
Yes.
to take, well, I don't know.
But we
how-
didn't specify any changes
Right.
in his deal.
I think he is. He wants to take
But
that
not in
one
his motion,
sentence
he did.
out. Yeah, if he wants to take that one sentence out, but I don't know how he wants to
This
reword
one
the
right
rest
here.
of it.
Pass it down, it's the highlighted stuff.
Well, I feel like he should, that's a good idea. I feel like he should write it out the way he wants it read. I mean, guessing from here to there, just rewrite it the way you want it said.
I mean, we don't want to take out all the highlighted, don't you agree?
No.
I think you and I are speaking fine.
Well, I was gonna say,
You retract your motion.
for argument's
Put it
sake,
back
Mark,
on the-
just withdraw your motion,
Okay.
because you know you'll get a second. I mean, the next time you bring it up. So just, for argument's sake, to end it till we get it wrote, why don't you just withdraw your motion?
Okay, I withdraw my
We can
motion.
get through
and
tonight.
second.
And then we can do this whole thing next time.
Okay, I'll get it.
Because otherwise, we're in a 2-hour deal over nothing.
Friday's up here again, too.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
That's over here.
Yeah.
Second.
I did.
All's in favor, say
Second.
aye.
Okay.
All opposed, say no.